Hey, I'm Eric. I'm 27 years old, originally from a small town in Wisconsin. But a few months ago, I packed up everything and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. I needed a fresh start. Back home, everything felt stuck. Same places, same faces. I was tired of living with the idea that life was just supposed to stay the same. I got a job here as a field technician for a smart home installation company. Not glamorous, but it pays well enough and keeps me moving. The team's small, mostly younger guys in their 20s and early 30s with an easygoing vibe, the kind I can blend into without trying too hard. That's how I met Jake. Jake's 26, works in the same department. The first time I talked to him was over a busted thermostat at one of the install sites. I cracked a stupid joke about the house being moodier than my ex, and he laughed harder than he should have. From that day on, we sort of clicked lunch breaks, car rides, between jobs, trash talking over basketball. It just worked. One Friday afternoon, we were finishing up a job across town, sitting in the truck, when he goes, "You got any plans tonight?" I shrugged. "Just the usual, heat up something frozen and watch. Crap I don't care about." He laughed. "Sounds depressing. Come over to my place. My mom's cooking tonight. I swear she makes the best chicken enchiladas you'll ever have." I hesitated for half a second, not because I didn't want to go, just didn't want to impose, but he added, "Seriously, she's chill. You'll like her." So I said, "Yeah, why not?" I pulled up to their house, cozy little place in a quiet neighborhood, 2 stories, well-kept yard plants by the door. I knocked and Jake answered with that same lopsided grin he always wore. "Come on in, man." I stepped inside, took off my shoes, and followed him into the kitchen. And that's when I saw her, his mom, Angela. She turned from the stove and gave me the kind of smile that makes people forget what they were about to say. She had soft blonde hair pulled into a low ponytail, a fitted casual blouse and jeans, and this kind of confident warmth in her face that instantly made the room feel easier to be in. "Hi," she said, wiping her hands on a towel. "You must be Eric. Jake's been talking about you." "All lies, I'm sure," I said. She laughed, a real one. "That's what I'm hoping." We sat down in the dining area a few minutes later. The food smelled amazing. Jake and I talked, cracked some jokes, but I could feel Angela listening, not just politely, I mean really listening. She asked smart questions, chimed in with wit, and the way she looked at me sometimes wasn't flirtatious exactly, but there was something there, something open, curious, present. She looked young, not trying to be young, just naturally youthful. I'd have guessed 35 tops, and there was no ring on her finger. After dinner, Jake disappeared into the living room to queue up some game on the PlayStation. I helped Angela with the dishes. She didn't ask, I just stood beside her and grabbed a towel. "You're not like Jake's other friends," she said as we stood side by side at the sink. "How so?" I asked, handing her a plate. She gave a small smile. "You're grounded, present. Most people your age can't carry a conversation longer than 10 seconds without checking their phones." I chuckled. "Well, I do my best." There was a moment of silence that hung a little too long to be casual. I didn't know what to say, and neither did she, so she just said, "Thank you for helping," and handed me the last wet plate. When I left, Jake walked me out. "Told you she was cool," he said. "Yeah," I nodded. "She really is." I drove home thinking about the food, about Jake's dumb jokes, but mostly about the way Angela looked at me while drying a glass like she was trying to figure me out. Next evening, I was halfway through heating up leftovers when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hey, Eric, it's Angela. I hope it's okay. I texted you. I got your number from Jake's phone while he was in the shower. Just wanted to say it was really nice meeting you last night." I stared at the message for a solid 30 seconds, trying to decide what surprised me more, that she messaged me or how much I liked that she did. I replied, "It's more than okay. It was really nice meeting you too." The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. I had no alarm set, but something about that message from Angela stayed with me. It wasn't even what she wrote. It was the fact that she wrote it at all. I lay there in bed for a while, phone in hand, rereading her text from the night before like a teenager. Stupid, I know. We had a regular work day ahead, nothing unusual. Jake picked me up like he usually did when we were assigned to the same job site. He was in a good mood chatting about the NBA playoffs and how his bracket was falling apart. I nodded and threw in a few comments, but my mind kept drifting. She said it was nice meeting me that wasn't strange. What was strange was how easily she found a reason to message me and how easily I welcomed it. Later that afternoon when we were on a break, I checked my phone and saw a second message from her. Did you survive the day Hope Jake didn't talk your ear off again? I smiled. She didn't need to write that, but she did. Me barely, he doesn't stop. But the real issue is I'm still thinking about those enchiladas. She replied within seconds. I could be convinced to make them again, but next time just for you. That sat with me. It didn't feel like a joke. It felt like a door slightly opening. I didn't step through it, not yet. Me dangerous offer, you barely know me, Angela. Maybe, but I'm a good judge of people. And you didn't even flinch when Jake made that awful joke about smart toilets. I laughed out loud. She remembered that. For the next few days, we kept texting nothing too intense. She'd ask how work was. I'd ask what she was reading. She mentioned she liked thrillers. Sometimes she'd send a photo of a dish she made and say you missed out. I'd reply with a photo of my sad microwave dinner. It was easy, natural, no pressure, but always with an edge, like something unspoken lingered between the lines. Then Thursday night she messaged, I'm off tomorrow and Jake's working all day. If you're free, stop by for coffee. No enchiladas this time, I promise. I stared at the message for a minute. She knew Jake wouldn't be home. She said coffee casual, but nothing about this felt casual. Still, I wasn't about to pretend I wasn't interested. Me, I'm free. Afternoon. Let me know what time works. Angela, 1:00 p.m. works. I'll be in the backyard. Just come around. That next day I got up early and kept checking the clock like I had some sort of interview. I showered, changed shirts twice, and even cleaned my shoes, which made me laugh at myself. It wasn't a date, but my body sure thought it was. I pulled up to her house just before 1. The sun was out, the sky was clear, and the whole street was quiet. Her backyard gate was already slightly open. I walked through it, and there she was sitting on a wooden deck chair, barefoot, in light jeans and a soft-looking white top, holding a cup of coffee. Her hair was up. She looked relaxed, peaceful. She smiled as soon as she saw me. Right on time, she said. I take coffee invitations very seriously, I replied, stepping onto the deck. She handed me a mug. Black or nothing. Sorry, I don't keep sugar. Perfect, I said and meant it. We sat down on opposite chairs, the sun warming everything around us. For a while, it was just casual talk. She asked about my family. I told her my parents were still in Wisconsin, retired early, living very boring lives. She smiled. Boring can be good, she said. Depends who you ask. Then I asked her what she meant the other night when she said I wasn't like Jake's other friends. She took a sip of coffee, paused, and looked at me directly. Most of Jake's friends are boys. You're not. You listen. You think before you talk, and I don't know, maybe I just noticed things. I didn't say anything. I wasn't sure how to respond, but I didn't look away. She leaned back in her chair, then said half joking, but with something real underneath. Why are all the good guys either taken or too young? I knew what that meant. I felt the weight of it. It was a question, but it was also a message. I looked at her, calm, serious, no games. I guess age doesn't matter as much as timing, I said, and chemistry. She didn't smile. She just nodded once, very slightly. We sat there, the silence stretching but not uncomfortable. Eventually she said, you know, when I had Jake, I was 18, barely a woman myself, and his dad left before Jake was even born. I spent my 20s just trying to survive Mighty's, trying to rebuild. Now I'm 45, and sometimes I feel like I'm finally living or maybe just waking up. I nodded. I get that. I feel like I'm just getting started too. She looked at me again, softer this time. I like talking to you, Eric. I like talking to you too. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't anything physical, but something happened in that moment. Something shifted and we both knew it. I left a half hour later. As I walked to my car, I heard her call out softly behind me. Next time, enchiladas. I turned back and smiled. I'll hold you to that. That weekend passed slower than usual. Everything I did felt automatic laundry groceries watching a game I didn't care about. But under all that, Angela's voice played on loop in my head. Why are all the good guys either taken or too young? I kept wondering if it had been a slip, a moment of vulnerability, or if it was intentional. But either way, I couldn't stop thinking about it and about her. Sunday night, she texted me again. Jake's home all day, so no coffee invites, but just wanted to say I enjoyed Friday. You're good company. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Me. Same here. Let me know when you're free again. I'll bring dessert next time. Angela deal, but only if it's cheesecake. Me noted. We didn't talk much more that night, but it didn't feel like silence. It felt like anticipation. On Tuesday, Jake and I were back on the same schedule. He mentioned nothing about his mom, nothing unusual, which meant thankfully she hadn't said anything to him, not that there was anything to say yet. That afternoon, after a long job across town, we stopped for coffee. We were sitting outside and Jake was talking about getting back into dating. You know, he said, sipping from his cup, it's weird. My mom's always giving me this subtle advice like she's some kind of expert, but she hasn't been with anyone in like, I don't know, forever. I stayed quiet. He added, she says she doesn't trust guys, can't blame her. My dad left before I was even born. Never even met the guy. I nodded. She seems strong, though. Jake smiled. Yeah, she is probably too strong for her own good. That evening, Angela texted again. He's playing Call of Duty with his headset on, practically deaf to the world. Want to stop by? I didn't hesitate. I pulled into their driveway. The living room curtains were mostly shut. The porch light was on. I knocked softly, and she opened the door almost immediately. She looked different, a little makeup hair down a long, soft sweater that hung off one shoulder. Hey, she said. Hey. She stepped aside to let me in. The house smelled like cinnamon and something baking. Jake's glued to the screen, she said, gesturing toward the living room. We won't be disturbed. She led me to the kitchen where a tray of muffins was cooling on the counter. I baked, she said. You are dangerous, I joked. We sat at the small kitchen table, low light, soft music coming from a speaker in the background. There was a pause, not awkward, just heavy. Then she said it again, this time slowly. Why are all the good guys either taken or too young? I looked at her, knowing exactly what she was doing now. It wasn't just a question anymore. It was an invitation. I'm not that young, I said. You're younger than me. Age is just a number. She laughed softly. You say that like a guy who's used that line before. I shook my head. Never. I've never had to say it because I have never met someone like you. She stared at me for a second. Then she stood up slowly and walked over to the sink, her back to me. I followed her movements with my eyes. How she paused, touched the counter lightly, then turned back around. I haven't done this in a long time, she said quietly. I haven't either, I replied. But I want to. She looked at me, not blinking. You're not doing this just for the thrill of it. I shook my head. No, it's not like that. She walked back towards the table, leaned forward slightly with both hands on the surface, inches from me. I don't want games, Eric. I've had enough of those to last me a lifetime. No games, I said. Just this, whatever it is. She nodded slowly. Then come here. I stood up, heart pounding louder than I expected. She reached up, gently touched the side of my face and kissed me soft, at first hesitant, then deeper. It didn't feel reckless. It didn't feel like crossing a line. It felt like something that had been waiting to happen. After a long moment, we pulled away, breathing quietly. She whispered, "This changes things." "I know," I said, "but I'm okay with that." She stepped back, still looking at me. "We'll have to be careful." "I will be." She walked to the counter, grabbed one of the muffins, broke it in half, and handed me a piece. "Eat this and leave in 5 minutes," she said. "We don't want Jake asking questions." I nodded, smiling. "So that's how it is." She winked. "You'll learn." As I left through the back door, she gently closed it behind me. I got in my car, sat for a moment, then exhaled, not from fear, but from release. Whatever this was, it had begun. For the next 2 weeks, everything felt like a balancing act. By day, I was Eric, the regular guy at work, cracking jokes with Jake, doing my job, showing up on time. By night, I was something else entirely, or a man sneaking around with his friend's mom. Angela and I didn't make any official plans. We didn't need to. She would text when Jake wasn't around, and I'd show up always through the side gate or the back door. Always when the street was quiet and always with my heart beating louder than it should have been. It never felt dirty. It felt real, maybe more real than anything else in my life lately. One night we were sitting in her kitchen again, late, the lights dim, her hair loose, her sweater falling slightly off one shoulder again. She had this habit of curling one leg under her when she sat barefoot and relaxed, like she finally felt safe. She leaned her chin in her hand and asked me softly, "Do you feel guilty?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, sometimes, but not enough to stop." "Would you?" I shook my head. "No, not even close." She reached across the table and took my hand. "You know what the worst part is," she said. "It's not even Jake. It's how easy this feels, like it's supposed to happen." I looked her in the eye. "Maybe it is." Angela didn't respond right away. She just sat there, eyes locked on mine, like she was searching for a reason to believe me. Then she whispered, "I forgot what this kind of attention feels like. What it's like to be looked at like a woman again, not just a mother." I moved around the table and knelt beside her chair. "You are a woman I think about constantly." Her fingers touched my face again, soft, unsure. "We can't keep doing this forever." "I'm not thinking about forever right now. I'm thinking about tonight." She leaned in and kissed me again, deeper this time, hungrier. That night, for the first time, we didn't just kiss. We stayed in that kitchen longer than we should have. We didn't cross any lines that YouTube would care about, nothing graphic. But in real life, it was everything: the tension, the desire, the whispered laughs between kisses. It felt alive. Afterward, we sat in silence, our hands intertwined, her head resting on my shoulder. She told me she hadn't been with anyone in years, that after her son was born, she lost herself for a while, work bills, school events, no time for romance, no energy for heartbreak. "I was fine," she said. "I didn't think I needed anyone until you came over for dinner." That hit harder than I expected. Later that week back at work, Jake and I were installing a panel in someone's garage. He was in a chatty mood. At some point he asked, "Hey, you doing anything Friday night?" I hesitated. "Not sure yet." "Why?" He shrugged. "My mom said she's cooking again. Thought I'd invite you. She actually asked if you were coming." I froze for a half second. "Really?" "Yeah," he said. "Said you were easy to talk to." I was like, "Okay, Mom." I kept my face neutral. "Sure, I'll swing by." When Friday came, I felt like I was walking into a scene I wasn't supposed to be part of. Angela played it perfectly warm, polite, completely normal. She wore jeans and a t-shirt, hair pulled back in a bun, like nothing had ever happened between us. Jake was oblivious, telling some story about a customer who kept calling his smart doorbell the future of paranoia. We all laughed. I watched Angela carefully. She never looked at me longer than she should, never said anything out of place. But when Jake went to the bathroom, she passed by behind me and whispered just loud enough for me to hear, I wish I could kiss you right now. I didn't turn around. I just smiled at my plate. Later, Jake drove me home as usual. She's in a good mood tonight, he said, referring to his mom. Yeah, I replied casually. Maybe it's the wine. He nodded. Maybe, or maybe she just likes you. I looked out the window and said nothing. That weekend, I didn't see Angela. She texted once, Jake's around. Just know I'm thinking about you. Me, same here. Be safe. The next time we met was on a Tuesday afternoon. I left work early with the excuse of a dentist appointment. She was waiting already smiling before I even rang the doorbell. We didn't say much that day. We didn't need to. We just held each other. We sat on the couch and watched an old movie. She rested her head on my chest. It felt normal, like something we'd done 100 times before. At one point, she asked quietly, "Are you scared?" I nodded a little. "Of getting caught, of losing you." She squeezed my hand. "We'll figure it out." As I left that day, she walked me to the door. Before opening it, she paused and said, "You know this thing between us, it might not be forever, but it's real." I nodded. It's the most real thing I've had in a long time. We kissed quickly just once, and then I was gone back to work, back to pretending. But the truth, I couldn't stop thinking about her every day, every night. And I knew this wasn't just a fling. It was something deeper, something worth hiding. I wish I could say it got easier, the sneaking around, the pretending, the constant awareness of what time it was, who might see, who might guess, but it didn't. Angela and I got good at hiding, but never comfortable with it. Every glance, every whispered text, every quiet goodbye at the back door, it all came with the same weight. The more time we spent together, the heavier it felt. And yet, we couldn't stop. The connection between us wasn't some wild rush that burned fast and vanished. It was slow, steady, honest. We talked for hours, not just about us, but about life, her fears, my mistakes, our hopes, the weird things that made us laugh. I started realizing that what I had with her wasn't just attraction, it was real companionship. But we both knew the clock was ticking. Jake was starting to notice things, not enough to confront us, but enough to ask questions. Why was I always free on certain afternoons? Why did his mom smile a little differently when my name came up? Why did I seem more distracted lately? One night after work, he dropped me off and didn't drive off immediately. He sat in the car for a moment, looking ahead, then said, "Hey, just curious. Is something going on between you and my mom?" I froze. My mouth went dry. He didn't look angry, just puzzled, almost hurt. I did the only thing I could think of. I lied. "No, man, she's just easy to talk to. I guess I remind her of someone, maybe her younger self," I said, trying to keep it light. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess." Then he drove off. I walked inside and didn't move for 10 minutes. I just sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall, heart pounding, head spinning. That night, I texted Angela. "Jake asked me if something's going on." I told him no, but I think he knows something's off. She didn't reply for almost an hour, then Angela. "Maybe it's time we stop hiding." I stared at the screen. What did she mean? Stop everything or stop hiding? I didn't ask. I just wrote, "Me when Angela, let's talk tomorrow in person." The next afternoon, I drove to her house. Jake wasn't home, she made sure of that. We sat in the living room, no coffee, no muffins, just us quiet. She looked at me with a kind of softness I hadn't seen before, the kind that came with something final behind it. "I can't keep living like this," she said gently. "You deserve more than secret visits and closed blinds." I nodded. "So do you." "I've thought about every way this ends," she continued. "If we come clean, Jake will be crushed. If we keep hiding, it'll break us from the inside. And if we end it quietly, we might both regret it." She looked up at me. Her eyes were steady. "But the truth is, I don't regret this, any of it." I took her hand. "Neither do I." "So what do we do?" I asked. She was quiet for a moment, then said, We keep it, we protect it, we don't rush it, and we don't announce it. I frowned slightly. So stay together, but still keep it quiet. She shook her head. No, not hiding, just living it for us. No need to declare anything. Let it be what it is. If one day it makes sense to tell Jake, we'll tell him. But right now, this is ours. I felt something release in my chest relief, not because it was over, but because it wasn't. Angela stood up and pulled me with her. Come on, let's go somewhere. Where? Anywhere. We drove 2 towns over to a quiet diner she liked, sat in a booth by the window. We talked about nothing and everything. It felt like being normal again. From that day on, everything slowed down. No more rush, no more pressure. We saw each other when we could, usually during the day, sometimes on weekends when Jake was out. Less texting, but more presence. We grew into each other's lives without needing to define it. Months passed, Jake and I stayed friends. He never asked again. Maybe he still suspected something, or maybe he moved on. Angela and I never had a talk about what we were. There were no labels. But she once said while we were walking through a quiet park on a chilly morning, "You know what I love about you? You never made me feel like a mistake." That stuck with me. We never moved in together. We didn't post photos. We didn't have public anniversaries. But we had something that felt more real than anything I'd known before. And we still do. It's been over a year now. I'm still in Charlotte, still working the same job, still grabbing lunch with Jake now and then, and still seeing Angela sometimes in the most ordinary ways. A quiet dinner, a drive out of town, a weekend walk where no one knows our names. We've accepted what we are, and we're not looking to prove it to anyone. Some stories don't need a dramatic ending. They don't crash or explode. They just continue quietly, honestly. This one's still going, and for now, that's enough. The story of Eric and Angela offers a poignant life lesson about the courage to embrace authentic connections, even when they come with risks and complexities. Their relationship, sparked by a seemingly casual dinner, teaches us that love and companionship can emerge in unexpected places, challenging societal norms like age differences or familial ties. Eric's willingness to step into Angela's world despite the secrecy required, and Angela's vulnerability in allowing herself to be seen as more than a mother, highlight the power of mutual respect and genuine presence. This narrative reminds us to prioritize relationships that make us feel truly alive, while also navigating the delicate balance of honesty and discretion to protect those we care about. Their choice to live their love quietly without labels or public validation underscores the beauty of cherishing something sacred for its own sake. It's an emotional call to listen to our hearts, to seize moments of connection, and to build meaningful bonds even when the path is unconventional. Please share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever found love or connection in an unexpected place? Your stories deepen our community and inspire us all. If this tale stirred your emotions, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to join our journey of heartfelt storytelling. Let's keep exploring life's profound lessons together.